seems to understand it to mean that stira adifa, stira is better, that we should trust one witness. Let me back up over here. I'm going to start again from the Rabbi Yeshua, which was 20 lines from the top of the page. Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua says you have to warn with two witnesses and you have to have stira with two witnesses. Rabbi Eliezer said that one witness is good enough for the stira. My time is Rabbi Yeshua. What's the reason Rabbi Yeshua? Amakra ba. The pasuk says ba. Here, one witness is good enough with regard to the tuma, with regard to the fact that something is that she sinned. One witness is good enough for the actual watching, seeing this, that they sinned. One witness is good, but only here one witness is good. Ba, here it works. V'loi b'kinoi, not regarding kinoi. In ba, v'loi b'stira. Here one witness works and not regarding stira. That, according to Rabbi Yeshua, one witness works only in one case. It only works with regard to the tuma. It doesn't work regarding the kinoi or the stira. Rabbi Eliezer, Aimer, ba v'loi b'kinoi. And Rabbi Eliezer says, ba v'loi b'kinoi. That ba, here one witness works with regard to tuma, but not regarding the kinoi. A kinoi, a warning, you need to have two witnesses. Stira, you don't. Stira is also is fine with one witness. But a kinoi, you need two witnesses. And then the Gemara asks, Ve'ema ba v'loi b'stira. But maybe ba means that here one witness is good, but not stira. Stira really needs two. And not like you're saying, Rabbi Eliezer. So Rabbi Eliezer answers stira iskish l'tuma, that stira is similar to tuma. And because the going in seclusion is juxtaposed to tuma, it's compared to tuma. So therefore, if tuma works one witness, stira also one witness should work. And if we're going to exclude something from one witness working, we're going to exclude kinoi. That's his answer. You have a hekish, you have a comparison stira to tuma. Therefore, one witness will work. The Gemara asks on Rabbi Eliezer, kinoi nami iskish latuma. Kinoi also should be comparable to tuma. And if kinoi is comparable to tuma, it's juxtaposed, it's compared to it. As it says in the pasuk, "V'kina yasishtoi v'hinitma," it says "V'kina yasishtoi." He warns his wife, and she becomes tamei. And you see, kinoi and tuma goes together. It sounds like the warning is similar to tuma, that one witness will be good enough. And if we're going to exclude something, maybe we should exclude stira from having one witness. That stira maybe needs two witnesses, not like Rabbi Eliezer said. So the Gemara answers to that, no, Hamid Rahman Ba. The Torah excluded it. It said Ba, it's excluding kinoi. So we're going to say kinoi needs two witnesses, stira doesn't. But the Gemara asks Zumaro Isa, and who says, why are you saying it this way versus that way? Both ways, you could exclude one from, because on the one hand, this one is iskish latuma. On the other end, that one's iskish latuma. Both of them are compared to tuma. So why are you going to choose one over the other? So the Gemara answers, Mistabra stira adifa. It makes sense. And here is a little change in the way I translated it. Mistabra stira adifa. It makes sense that stira is better to compare to tuma. Mistabra stira adifa. It makes sense that stira is better to be machmir, and to say one witness will work with stira. Why? Because it's going to prohibit her just like tuma prohibits her. The stira is prohibiting her like tuma, and therefore, because tuma, one witness is good enough, stira also one witness should be good enough. One witness should be sufficient to prohibit her. It's prohibiting her like tuma. Therefore, stira should need one witness alone is sufficient, just like tuma is. It's prohibiting her like tuma. Let the same law of tuma should apply. We should be machmir with her, meaning more strict, that even one witness is good enough. The Gemara says, no, adrabah kinoi yadav shekin ikar garamla. Kinoi is better to be machmir with it, because this is the ikar, this is the main thing that ikar garam law that causes the whole situation to take effect. What does that mean? That the kinoi, without the warning, nothing would have any meaning. The stira would have no meaning, and therefore the whole kinoi is the source of the problem, and that should be similar to the tuma And we should compare it to and say one witness is good enough. We should be extra machmir to say kinoi. This is the ikr. This is the main thing. Therefore, kinoi should say we should say it. This is like the tumah. One witness should be good enough. This is the ikr. This is the source of the whole problem. And without this, nothing plays any role. So the Gemara says, "Ilav stira kinoi miika." If not for the stira, what would the kinoi do? What would the warning do? The stira is the main thing. And it would make sense that stira should be sufficient with one witness, because that's the sort of that leads to the whole problem. With the kinoi alone is nothing. But then the Gemara says you can look at it the opposite way. Lav kinoi, without the kinoi, stira mayahani. What will it help if she goes in secluded area if she didn't have the warning first? The warning is the most important thing, because without the warning, it doesn't the stira, the seclusion doesn't do anything, and therefore the warning should be sufficient with one witness. Why are you comparing tuma to stira more than kinoi? The kinoi, without the kinoi, nothing would take effect. So again, you could look at it both ways. And the Gemara says, Afilu hachi stira adifa. Nevertheless, stira is better, meaning it's more logical to be machmir with stira, because and say that stira, one witness, will be sufficient. Stira is adifa, that one witness will be sufficient with stira. The aschalta, the tumahi, because this is the beginning of the prohibition of being tameh. This is the beginning of the tumah. This is the beginning of her being prohibited, just like tumah. And stira is better. It's like the beginning part of it. The warning is not the beginning part. He didn't start the tumah yet. Here, the tumah begins. The seclusion is called the aschalta de tumah. This is where the tumah starts. The tumah kicks in when they are secluded together. This stira is where like the story happens. The warning, nothing's happening at the warning. Here, the story is taking place, and this is called the Maisa Tumah. Begins with the stira. Where does it start? It starts with closing the door and going into the secluded area. And therefore, it would make sense to say that if we're going to rely on one witness for the tumah, we're going to rely on one witness for the stira. And so that's the conclusion of the Gemara, that stira is adifa. That's Rabbi Eliezer's understanding. So the Gemara went through really a large back and forth way of explaining Rabbi Eliezer's opinion, because it's a little complicated. You have these two things, both of them are crucial in order for the laws of Sota to kick in, but nevertheless, the laws of Sota kicking in, one of them is supposedly more comparable to Tumah than the other one. One of them, in other words, both of them are crucial, but the Rabbi Eliezer understands that one of them is we're gonna exclude one from needing. We're gonna exclude one from being able to rely on one witness, meaning one of them is going to need two witnesses. One of them we can say one witness is good enough. Which one are we choosing? And so Rabbi Eliezer concludes in the end, after going through a back and forth, he says the beginning part of Tumah, that's going to be the thing that's going to play a role. And the beginning part of Tumah is when the door closes, they're secluded in an area, and that will be the case where one witness is sufficient. So that explains our Mishnah. Now we have clarity in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said one witness is good enough for stira. Why? Well, based on a pasuk, the pasuk says ba, which excludes one thing according to Rabbi Eliezer. It excludes. We're going to choose that it'll exclude kinoi, and it will instead will assume that stira is similar to tumah. It's the beginning of tumah. It's the first step of them actually sinning together, and therefore this is going to be sufficient to have one witness for. That's the conclusion of this little piece. Now, the Gemara now is going to bring another view of Rabbi Eliezer of our Mishnah, meaning that our Mishnah says Rabbi Eliezer's view is this, but there's another way of understanding Rabbi Eliezer, and the other way of understanding Rabbi Eliezer is that the statement in our Mishnah is flipped, meaning Rabbi Eliezer's opinion about kinoi and about stira, you got to flip around. Kinoi, maybe one witness is good enough, and stira is where you need two witnesses. And this fits right into our Gemara, right here. Why does it fit right in? Because we've just mentioned how logically you could really see it both ways. Both of these things are crucial to having the laws of Sota, and both of them, you could say, are more. Each one could be said of that it's more important, and you need it more than the other one. And ultimately, you can see it. You can see it both ways. I mean, Rebbe Lezer sees it one way, the way he says it in our Mishnah, but now we have another opinion. Actually, says the exact opposite. So here comes the other opinion. Masnisen deloiki haitana. Our Mishnah is not following the version of another Tana that has a different version of this discussion, this debate in the Mishnah. The Tanya, because it was taught in a brisa, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, I remember Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yossi Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Eliezer, Hamakani leishtai, person who does kinoi to his wife, warns her, Mekani al pi edechad al pi atzmai. He can warn her himself. Umashkel al pi shnayim. But he gives her to drink, meaning because she had a stira, that you need two witnesses that she went into a secluded area. That's where you need two witnesses. For the warning, one witness is good enough. Yourself, you don't even need witnesses. However, for the stira, that you need two. And the rabbis answer him back. Heshivu chachamim, the rabbis answered back. L'divrei Rabbi Yossi b'Rabbi Yehuda, according to the way Rabbi Yossi b'Rabbi Yehuda quotes Rabbi Eliezer's view, ein l'davar soif. There would be no end to this. This would be, you would have unlimited cases of Sota. The Gemara asks, what does this mean? Ein l'davar soif, there's no end. My time, we'll soon see what that means. But the Gemara says, my time with Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. What's the reason, actually, of Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda in flipping the rules of when you need one witness, when you need two witnesses? The Mishnah had said that Rabbi Eliezer holds kinoi needs two, stira needs one. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda flips it, and he says kinoi needs one, or yourself, and stira is where you need two. So he flips it. What's his reason? Amar Krabah says that by Tumah you need one witness, and only here in this case you need one witness. It excludes something else that needs two. Not stira. Stira needs two witnesses according to Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda's version. Stira needs two witnesses. Kinoi doesn't, but stira needs two. It's different. But says stira. Here you need one witness of Tumah. Not stira. Stira is one witness is good enough. So the Gemara goes exactly the same questions we grilled Rabbi Eliezer before. Now we're gonna grill Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. So the Gemara says, maybe Ba is excluding kinoi. That kinoi should need two witnesses. No, kinoi is tumah. Kinoi is similar to tumah, and therefore tumah needs one. Kinoi also one witness is good enough. It says he warns his wife, and she is tameh. So you see, it's connected. Kinoi and tumah. So one witness should be good enough for kinoi. Stira, you need to. The one says, what do you mean? Stira nami. The Gemara says, "Stira nami is gesh l'tumah dechsev v'nisra b'hinitma." Stira also is iskish, is compared to tuma, because you have the pasuk of minister of Enigma. You have the pasuk that says Vinistera, Stira, and Tuma right next to each other. And so you see, Stira and Tuma should be similar. And you should say that Stira does not need two witnesses. One witness is good, just like Tuma, one witness is good. So the Gemara answers, no. Vinistera v'hinitma, hahu lakama shir stira. That's telling you how much do you need to be secluded. It's the amount of time, kadei tuma, the amount of time it would take to sin together. That's the amount of time being secluded is prohibited. It's the amount of time that kadei tuma, the amount of time it would take to become tame, meaning to sin together, that would be the correct amount of time. Who kadei shir lakama shir stira kadei tuma hu da'asa. That's what it's coming for. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, you actually answer the questions that the Gemara had asked before. You can answer it a little easier. And you could say that the answer why it says stira and tuma next to each other is because what is the shear? What is the measurement amount of time that stira is? That's the amount of time kadei tuma. That's the answer. Why it says it there. But here it says kinoi and tuma next to each other. We're going to learn that the law is the same. One witness is good enough for kinoi. One witness is good enough for tuma. Falls under the same category. And that's the opinion or the version of Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. And now the Gemara is going to explain what the rabbis meant when they said, if so, there's no end. Heshivu chachamim l'divrei Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, ein l'davar soif. The rabbis answered that according to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, there's no end. My nihu. What does that mean? What does it mean? There's no end. There's no end. Ein l'davar soif. What is he referring to? What are the rabbis claiming? What's so bad about what he said? So the Gemara says, "The zimnin deloikani," because there's got to be times that a husband didn't warn his wife. V'yamar, and he will say when he's angry at her, he will say, "Kanoi, I did warn her," or "Kani." He'll say, "Kanoi, I warned her," or "Kanai." It sounds like this week's parsha. Kanoi, Pinchas was the Kanoi, but he'll say Kanoi, meaning past tense. I warned her, and by saying that, what's going to happen is that he's going to prohibit her because she's going to be in this case, they saw her secluded with another man. And he tells her, he says about her, I warned you. All he has to do is say, I warned you, even though it's not true. But he's so angry. He says, I warned you and you did it. And you don't need witnesses. And so all it's going to happen. It's going to end up happening too often that there'll be ein l'davar soif, meaning there'll be unlimited cases of saitas. There'll be no end. So the Gemara asks, what about our Mishnah? Our Mishnah was the flipped case. Our Mishnah said that one witness is good enough for stira. Two witnesses you need for kinoi. So the Gemara says, Hold Mishnah, say no yesh l'davar soif. In our Mishnah, there is an end to. Zimnin delay istater. There'll be times that she didn't go into seclusion with this man. Va'amar istater, and he'll just make up that she did because he's angry at her. And you'll have the same story. He warned her with witnesses. And then there never was a story that happened after, but he's angry at her for something else. She burnt his food, whatever. I don't know. She was insulting. and he gets angry, he'll say, "Oh, you were mistater with that man. That's it. I'm not allowed to be with you. You have to leave and goodbye. With Sota, you have to drink the water." And he'll make up the story, the starter. So it's Ein L'Davar Soif. There'll be unlimited cases. You can make up that you. So Amar Rabbi Yitzchok bar Yosef, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Af L'Divrei Rabbi Yosef bar Ein L'Davar Soif. So Rabbi Yitzchok bar Yosef says, the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that you're right. You're right. Our Mishnah is a very easy case. That person, that there'll be no limit to how many soitas there are, because a person could lie, and he could say, "I caught you yesterday, last night. Remember, you went to his house. See, now I warned you before with witnesses. Now last night you were here. That's it. Sorry." And she'll say, "No, it never happened. What are you talking about?" He'll say, I was a witness. You don't have two witnesses. I don't need two witnesses. One witness is good enough. The Mishnah says, Rabbi Eliezer holds, stira, al piatzmai, even one witness, even himself, I'm trusted. Last night I saw you, and that's it. And he'll get angry. He'll prohibit her. And you'll have Ein L'Davar Soif. So the Gemara says, you're right. Even Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda have Ein L'Davar Soif. Even according to Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda, it's Ein L'Davar Soif. But for sure, the Mishnah's case, you for sure have Ein L'Davar Soif, because anyone could make up a story that there was a stira. So the Gemara says, Afla Div Rabbi Yossi, Afla Div Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, V'lai B'Bai L'Mishnah Seinu. Really? Is it true that our Mishnah is much more probable to come to this problem called Ein L'Davar Soif? There'll be no end. Is that more probable from our Mishnah's opinions, or is it more probable from Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda's opinion? Meaning our Mishnah's view of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda's view of Rabbi Eliezer is similar, but there's a difference. It's a flipped law. One of them says one witness is good enough for kinoi. The other one says one witness is good enough for stira. Now, is it which one is more probable to come to Ein L'Davar Soif? There'll be no end to how many cases of Sota you're gonna bring on. You're gonna make up. It's gonna be lies, but you could easily make it up. Which one is going to cause there to be more of an Ein L'Davar Soif, more of an unlimited cases of Sota? Which one is going to be causing this more? So the Gemara says, really, that even our Mishnah is Ein. One second. Initially, we said that according to Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda is Ein L'Davar Soif. The Gemara says, what about our Mishnah? So the Gemara answered that even the Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda is Ein L'Davar Soif, meaning our Mishnah is for sure, but even Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda is Ein L'Davar Soif. The Gemara asks, really? Our Mishnah is much more probable than Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda? Our Mishnah is more probable of Ein L'Davar Soif than Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda's? Adarabah. On the contrary, our Mishnah has it has a story that started true. Kinoi needs to have two witnesses. There had to be something that started properly. That would be our Mishnah. There was a kinoi. You have two witnesses. She must have been doing something with him that caused the husband to want to warn her. So our Mishnah has an ikar. And therefore, you won't say Ein L'Davar Soif. He could make up a story about a stira, but it's not that there's no limit. You had to have a kinoi to begin with in order to have this situation where he could lie and say, I saw her secluded. He had to at least warn her at the beginning. So our Mishnah at least is an ikar. Hasam leka ikar, according to Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda, there's no ikar. There's no origin of where you're starting from. He could make up a story that I gave you a warning and it's not true. So the origin of this issue of Sota in our Mishnah is much more solidly based in Reb Lezer's opinion, because you need witnesses to the warning. And in the case of Reb Yossi bar Yehuda, he can make up a story. There's no origin that's solidly based of witnesses. So the Gemara says, you know what? If it was said, it must have been said like this. Amar Reb Yitzchok bar Yosef, Amar Reb Yochanan. Reb Yitzchok bar Yosef says, in the name of Reb Yochanan, the divrei Reb Yossi Reb Yehuda, af lemishnah seino ein ladavar soif. According to Reb Yossi bar Reb Yehuda, even according to our Mishnah, there is no end to the possibilities that could come out from lying. That according to Rabbi Eliezer. In other words, according to Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda, it's for sure ein ladavar soif. It's a big problem. They're making it very easy for someone to lie. But even according to our Mishnah, you also have the rabbis disagreed with Rabbi Eliezer, so to speak, and they said it. And basically, even in our Mishnah, it's also a little problematic, because he could make up a story about the stira. He could say, "I saw you last night. You were together with that man," and it's not true. The Gemara now says, Amar Reb Chanina Misura. Reb Chanina Misura says, Loilema inish liyitze bisman hazeh. A person should not tell his wife in these days when there's no Beis Hamikdash. A person shouldn't say, Lois tisteri bahadi pleni. Shouldn't warn her. Shouldn't warn his wife. Don't go in seclusion with that person. Why? Dilma kaimalan Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, because it's possible that we hold like Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar that he says kinoi is al piatzmai, that kinoi is good enough even if you don't have witnesses. Oh boy, umistatra, and maybe she's actually gonna transgress the warning. You gave her a warning, no witnesses around, but nevertheless, according to Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda, you don't need witnesses, because kinoi is al piatzma. Kinoi is good enough even if you're do it yourself with no witnesses. And stira, you do need witnesses according to him, but that's very easy to happen. She might end up. She might end up going into a secluded area with that man. And what's going to happen? You'll never be able to live with her again. So don't warn your wife in today's day and age where there's no sight to water. Umistatra, she's going to end up having a stira. Maybe she's going to end up going into seclusion with that man. Veleko ha'idna me soita, you won't have me soita lemivdaka to check her. V'ka'asar la ilave isur deliyolo. And he's going to prohibit her on him a prohibition forever, because there's no sight to water to drink. And this would be a big problem. This could be a major problem. Now, the only question is this really such a problem if we do have laws of yichud? We have laws where you're not allowed to go into a secluded area with another woman and a man together in a private area. You can't go together. Now, there are heterim, there are leniencies. For example, if you work in the city, so it's called baila bo'ir. Husband works in the city. He's in town. So your wife, she could have someone in the house, a worker. She could have meet with someone, and it's not a problem of yichud, of being secluded with another man. Why? The reason is because your husband could anytime pop in. He's in town. It's somewhat unpredictable when he's coming home. And she And the man would be afraid to do any sinful things because he could come home any moment. He's Baila's Ba'ir. He's in town. He could come in any minute and open the door and see you. So there's a permission, there's a permit for many types of seclusion that's permissible. In an elevator is permissible to be together with another man. What do you mean? You're a married woman. How are you in the same elevator? Well, it's only for a moment, and the amount of time, it's impossible. It stops at different, it could open up at any moment as another person presses the elevator, and it could open up and so on. So it's not an issue of yichud. It's not called yichud. So what does the Gemara here say that Reb Chanina Misura says a person has to be extra careful from warning his wife about being with a certain person, because what's going to happen? They're going to have yichud together. They're going to have a stira. They're going to be secluded together, and then she's going to be prohibited to him forever. Really? Women are just going into yichud, having sinning? I mean, it's also a sin. Again, they didn't actually have relations, but it's a prohibition for a man and woman to be secluded in an area together. That's private. You can't go inside a room and lock the door and say, "Oh, I'm not sinning with her. We're just having a nice conversation." We lock the door. That's called yichud. That's prohibited. So why is Rabbi Yehuda? Why is Rabbi Chanina Misura? Why is he so concerned about this type of situation if there is a law about not having yichud? She's not going to go and end up. A person could warn his wife, maybe. What's wrong with warning his wife? She's going to end up having yichud? Really? She's going to sin and have yichud? People don't do yichud. And you're going to say it's going to be a case of baila ba'ir. If the husband's in the city, then it's not yichud. Then it's okay. That's what you're worried that's going to prohibit her? So the commentaries come up with a very interesting conclusion based on this, and that is that the laws of yichud and the laws of stira are really two separate laws. If a person warns his wife and he tells her, do not have yichud with that air conditioning guy who comes to fix our house once every 6 months, I'm warning you, do not be in a secluded area with the air conditioning guy. If a person tells that to his wife, and then the air conditioning guy pops in because your air conditioner broke, and the husband's in town, he's teaching, he's around the corner, he's a few blocks away, he's in town, and according to halacha, under normal circumstances, you invite the air conditioning guy in. He can fix your air conditioner. You can close the door. You can even lock the door because your husband's in town. It's called baila ba'ir. The husband's in town. It's not a problem of yichud. But guess what? Even though it's not a problem of yichud, but the laws of stira are a separate law. Stira, it is a problem. Even baila ba'ir, even the permits that you have for yichud don't apply to stira. And what would happen? He warned his wife, don't hang out with that air conditioning guy. She comes 6 months later into the house. He comes into the air conditioning guy. Air conditioning is broken. He comes in the house. She's secluded with the air conditioning guy. Even though the husband's in town, she is now prohibited to her husband. Why? Because the laws of stira don't have there are no leniencies of husband's in town, the door is unlocked, the different heterim that there are for yichud don't apply to stira. And we know that because there's many laws of yichud that wouldn't apply, and yet we do find they apply to Sota. For example, a person can warn his wife not to be with her brother. There's no problem of yichud. A woman and a girl and her brother can hang out together. But he could warn his wife warn his wife not to be secluded with her. And there's the laws of stira would kick in. Yichud wouldn't. But the laws of stira would. So even though the words are very similar, yichud and stira, they both mean seclusion together, but the rules of yichud have a lot of leniencies. The rules of stira don't. If he warns his wife, she's got to be extra careful to keep those rules. And that's why a person shouldn't warn his wife in today's day and age where we don't have the Sota water. Anyway, we're going to stop here. Sei gesund, everyone. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good job, everybody.